Man, as soon as the final whistle, the drama really started heating up, Shane, and already did the emergency pod. Go back and check that out if you missed it. But I just want to get your quick thoughts because it's official. No more rumors, no more speculation. Billy Napier, the Louisiana head coach, now the coach of the Florida Gators. What is your first take on that?
You know, I'm kind of torn, man, because it looks sexy on paper. You know what I'm saying? But so many coaches have come through the University of Florida that looked sexy on paper. That's my biggest concern. Is this another name in a long line of coaches that just don't get the job done? Is this one of the coaches they fire in 2-3 years? Or is this the guy that puts the University of Florida back on the map? Dude, they're in the spot, man. When you were playing NCAA, if the Florida job came open, you took it because it was a recruit hotbed. They have everything they need to compete. Yeah. It's in the East. You love that. I think it's a picture perfect university to win national championships. So is Napier the guy? I'm a coin toss right now, Mike. I'm not ready to say yes, but they needed something different and they got it with Napier.
Yeah, and I just love the fact, Shane, he's coached under Saban. He's coached under Dabo. Now, there have been other guys that have done that, and they've flopped as head coaches. But you combine that with the fact that he's run his own program for 4 years, been very successful down there at Louisiana. I like that. I love the fact, if I'm a Gator fan, that this is a guy that, there was interest by Mississippi State. There was interest by South Carolina. There was interest by Auburn. Passed on all those, and some say even Tennessee last cycle. Yeah. And if he's waiting for he's a calculated guy. He's not just jumping at a job, which so many of these guys do. So I really love that fact. But and fair or unfair, Shane, how I think this is going to be judged is
recruiting, man.
Who those LSU Tigers? Well, recruiting, yeah, but who those LSU Tigers hire, Shane? And because Billy Napier there in Louisiana, right under LSU's nose. LSU, for whatever reason, it apparently had no interest in Billy Napier. We'll come to find out whether that's a huge mistake or not. But LSU, who they go hire, Shane? It ain't going to be Lincoln Riley. Oh, man. The message boards, the Twitter. Everybody was following. Oh, my God. You see who Lincoln Riley followed on Twitter?
He bought a boat down there in Louisiana, man.
Well, if he did, he just did it for vacation because he came out and said, hey, I ain't going to be LSU's new coach. Turns right around, Shane, and takes the Southern Cal job. That never in a million years would I have thought. How many times we do this podcast, Shane says, LSU or Southern Cal, what's a better job? No hesitation. It's LSU all the way. But apparently old Lincoln, he looked over there at the SEC and said, I don't want none of that right there. They fire you a season or two after you win the national championship, right after winning the division championship. Yep. I do not want any part of that. And, hey, it is what it is. But
do you want that? The expectations on both of those jobs. You think even Dan Mullen there at Florida, it wasn't like he was he didn't not get to a bowl game. You know what I'm saying? He did. He had productive program and won a lot of games down there at Florida. And it's just like, man, the expectations are so high. You take 1 year off down there, you're gone. 2 years away from a national championship, you're fired. I mean, that doesn't happen in the NFL, does it? You don't win a Super Bowl and 2 years later you get fired. That's just how competitive the SEC. And I think, man, I don't care what the people say, and I'll say it right now. Lincoln cares about Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that he didn't entertain the LSU job, Mike, and the reason is because those Oklahoma Sooners are coming to the SEC. They're no longer going to be the big dogs, and you cannot have 10-win, 11-win seasons in Oklahoma. I just don't think it's going to happen, Mike. I just truly don't. I think they'll be successful, but I think there'll be years that they're competitive and they compete for SEC championships, but they're not going to be able to do it year in, year out like they were doing in Oklahoma. And what he's doing is he's hiding. His ass went to California to go compete in that weak-ass conference and stay away from the SEC. He was thinking about Lincoln Riley. That should say more about him, not toughing it out with Oklahoma. I mean, Where else would you want to be? This is the premier SEC destination. We're adding 2 more powerhouse programs, and you turncoat and get out of town? That's because you're worried about that little boy record. Get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense, Mike. You don't want him, LSU. You don't want a guy like this, because when the reality hits and he can't get you those wins that he was getting over there in Oklahoma, he's going to be one of those that just does what he did this week, and that's leave his team behind.
Yeah, the SEC is not for the weak-minded. That is for sure. But what that's got everybody on Rocky Top there worried now, Shane, that Josh Huepel go jump to the Oklahoma job, even though there's no real speculation that that's even going to happen or that's in the rumor mill.
Mike, tell him what you did to me.
Tell
him what you did to me. Broke. I mean, you talk about I couldn't get to Twitter quick enough.
So I texted Cousin Shane, a big Tennessee homer. Bruce Feldman reports Josh Huepel to OU. And then I waited about 10 whole minutes, probably the longest 10 minutes of Shane's life. And I said, just kidding.
Dude, I am going through Twitter feeds. I'm looking at his replies and likes and everything. I was like, I don't see it. Maybe he deleted it. That's what I was thinking, So then I'm doing the search and everything. I'm telling you, Mike, Tennessee Volunteer fans, we've been hurt, man. Lane Kiffin did this. He came up here for a year, made our program relevant again, kept it close with Alabama. We were already hanging banners up here in Knoxville, and his ass left with Monty. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget talking about his dad hiding behind the desk because he's afraid he's going to get hurt, man, as we're burning couches in the street. This program has been hurt before. So, a lot of people are saying, there's no way, Heupel. Yeah, you could say that all you want, but it's happened to us. Fool me once, shame on me. Everybody's on alert. But, Mike, give me peace of mind. Tell me why Heupel is not going to go to Oklahoma. Please. It better be good. Come on.
Well,
man.
Last time I checked, he's got no relationship with the university down there. I think they've even honored the national championship team. I don't even think he went to that. He used to. Here's how I would equate it, Shane. I'm not saying Josh Huepel was as good as Peyton Manning, but he's the last quarterback that led them to a national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Josh Huepel, and they've had a string of Heisman winners, but they've none of them won the national championship. So that's how popular Heupel is down there in Norman. And imagine if Tennessee hired Peyton Manning, to be a coordinator, a quarterback coach. You're grooming him. Let's say Philip Fulmer did it, because that's an even better example, because he was hired by Bob Stoops to run the offense. They were grooming him to be the next head coach of Oklahoma, and then they fired his ass, and they brought in a younger offensive mind to replace him. So that's kind of how I equate it. If Peyton was brought in, and then they fired Peyton and brought in old Ryan Leaf to be the head coach of Tennessee Vols, you know what I mean? Like, you think Peyton would turn around here in a couple years and say, well, I will be the new Tennessee coach. Right. No, I mean, I think that bridge is burned. I think that chapter is closed, and he just does not have a good relationship with Oklahoma. I know he played there, but to my knowledge, he's not set foot on that campus in a decade, and I don't think he's got any desire to do so. So,
well, I'll tell you,
just because he played there, that doesn't do it for me.
I'll tell you, the AD is a factor. Here's our AD from UCF, comes up to Knoxville, first hires Heupel. This is a package deal, and I don't see that friendship disconnecting right now. So things are going good on Rocky Top. Don't mess it up. I'm with you, Mike. I don't think it's an opportunity. Let me ask you, now that position is open, I mean, say what you want, that's an SEC opening. Is there any names that you see floating around for the Oklahoma job, or are they the same names you're seeing with LSU, or what's going out there? What are you hearing behind the scenes?
Yeah, and how about this, Shane? What it really makes me think of, because Lincoln Riley was so highly regarded, the fact that he left this job. I'm not trying to talk down to Oklahoma, because it's one of the proudest programs in college football history, but what does that say about what Lincoln thought about the future of Oklahoma going into the SEC after dominating the Big 12 Conference? And that was what a lot of people said, Shane, when Texas and Oklahoma was officially announced to the SEC. They said, why would Oklahoma make us move when they've dominated that. I think they've won it 6 years in a row. This is the first year in 7 seasons they've not won the Big 12. Why would they make this move? And of course the answer is money, but it's going to put them at a competitive disadvantage. There's not, they're close to Texas. Surely they can recruit guys from Texas still, but it's just not the same as the recruiting landscape that these SEC programs have to pull from. So, I don't know. I think maybe the Oklahoma job, that's going to be a tough one in the SEC. We'll see how they structure the league moving forward. But the only name that I've really heard that I think makes a ton of sense is, and has actually won a little bit off the radar, Shane, is the Clemson defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. Apparently he's formerly defensive coordinator down there in Oklahoma. I think that's a job that he would certainly take interest in. And then after Lincoln left, Shane, I don't know if you heard, Bob Stoops is going to be the interim. I'm not suggesting that he stays on full time, but how about from one Stoops to another, man? Maybe this is the move for Mark Stoops to take over for the opening down there. I could certainly see that as well.
Golly, man, there's so much rumor going on. It's tough to keep up with it all. I mean, It was tough enough when there was 12 teams, Now we got 16 teams to look after. So, yeah, there's all kinds of rumors floating around. I like how aggressive Florida was in getting this name out there. They're ahead of it, man. We got recruiting starting. That's one thing I think is real big with Napier, especially being down there in Louisiana, man. This wasn't a big program, but this is a guy that spent a lot of time in those Louisiana high schools, a lot of time in those Texas high schools. Now he's got those relationships he's picking up here in Florida. So he's been in those recruiting hotbeds. He's been around these guys, and that's what it boils down to, Mike. Florida wants some studs, man. They want to be the top recruiting class, and there's no reason they can't be because they've been there many, many years. So I think that's the key here, getting them in early, right here before National Signing Day. Maybe you can salvage some recruits here that have fell off. Maybe you can bring them back in. I think the biggest recruit down there is AR-15, man. Just getting with those players, getting with the staff, letting these kids know. Re-recruits, even though they're on campus, man. We've seen it at Tennessee. That transfer portal gets hot after a new coach. So that's the big one. Win these hearts over. Keep these kids playing, and I think you got a hell of a hire down there.